Hi there. Today's video is about controlling behavior. A lot of us can be in controlling behavior, can be in a controlling relationship, and we don't even realize it. Controlling behavior is emotional manipulation, and by that it means that the person who's actually inflicting the control is manipulating your mind and your emotions. Sometimes you don't even realize what's happening because it's so subtle. And the scary thing about a controlling relationship is that the control freak, is making you feel as though either you're inadequate, or you don't have any value, or you're supposed to be grateful for them. And they do it in a way that's it comes over as though they're caring about you, although they're being really interested in you, that they're being attentive. One of the major controls that's obvious, and we'll call it overt control, is jealousy. When someone's jealous, it's obvious, and sometimes it can be quite threatening and intimidating. And sometimes it can be more subtle in the sense that they'll tell you, oh, your friends aren't good enough, or they're a bad influence, or what do you need friends for? You've got me. You can tell me all your secrets. You can tell me everything. And so you create a dependence. These control freaks, they create that kind of relationship where you tell them everything and you don't need anybody else. And so when you're telling them everything and every thought, that means if they don't like something, they can avert it. They can actually do something about it. You won't even realize that they have actually stopped what it was you were planning to do. And the only way you can tell if you're in a controlling relationship is by you have a sense of confusion. Everything seems to be normal and you feel quite comfortable, but sometimes you can be excited about something. You might decide to do a hobby. Supposing you wanted to do ice skating or something, and then you tell your partner or your spouse, you say, oh, I'd love to, I'm going to go on an ice skating course. And I'm going to start on Monday. And then that person says to you, oh, do you think you should go on an ice skating course? Don't you think you're a bit overweight? Some little dig as something like that can make that person think, oh, well, I never thought about that. Maybe I am overweight. He's saying, I'm only saying that because I care about you, because if you was to fall, you might break the ice or something, and I wouldn't want that to happen. Or if you bump into somebody, they might have an accident because you are quite heavy. And they make these little subtle digs, and they make it seem as though they care for you, when really it's a part of their controlling behavior. They don't want you to do anything apart from be at home, look after them, if you've got a family, to look after the family. They even try to isolate you from their friends, from your friends. And they make sure you have to come home. They'll make some excuse why you have to come home. If you've got kids, they'll probably say, oh, I can't look after them this time because of A, B, C, D, and E. So you've got to be careful and sense when something is of your doing and when something is of their doing. And it takes a lot of awareness and self-awareness to know when that is happening. Control can also take the form of routine. Now you could actually see something routine as being structure, as being being something stable and something consistent. Now, supposing somebody is calling you every morning they call you, and if you don't pick up, they don't leave a message, and so you call back. Oh, sorry I missed your call. They haven't really got much to say, but they do that. And in the evening, they'll send you a text. And nothing much in the text. They might just want to say, oh, just texting me to see how you are. And you're left feeling, oh, they've sent me a text, I've got to respond. And that's how it forms in very subtle ways. So you get a call every morning, or you get a text every morning, and instinctively you respond because it's a polite thing to do. And you get a text every evening, instinctively you respond because it's the right thing to do. And then one day you might fall asleep, or you don't respond to the text, or you might just simply forget. And you get a phone call. I sent you a text and I haven't heard from you. And you're like, yeah, I forgot. And I forgot. Oh, so where are you? I'm at home. Oh, so how come you didn't respond to my text? Then you start realising that there's more to it. There's more to those texts and the phone calls than meets the eye. Once again, it's very subtle. Now, if you'd kept on responding, whether it's on autopilot or consciously, you wouldn't have realised that there was a problem. Maybe you still don't realise there's a problem. Maybe by me explaining this to you, you might realise that there might be a control issue there. But the fact that he's taken issue with the fact that you haven't responded to one of his texts it's a control mechanism. It's a way of him knowing what you're doing, where you are, in a subtle form. He's not saying to you, he's not, when he sends that good night text, he's not asking you where you are, what you're doing, but he's expecting you to respond immediately. And when you don't, it's like, oh, where is she? What's she doing? Why hasn't she responded to my text? So that's how you can determine that that could be a ploy of control. Also, there's crying. Some people, they'll cry and they'll make a big fuss, so you feel sorry for them, and they get you round to their way of thinking. If you were going to go out, they'll start crying and say, oh, I've just remembered that, my mother's died and I feel really upset about it, and I don't know if I want to be left on my own. And they can do that and spoil your plans. It's a bit dramatic, but that happens. Not all controlling behaviour is aggressive and obvious. Some of it is done through guilt, by making you feel guilty, manipulating you in a way. They might say to you, oh, you left the light on all night? No, you left the light on and you went to work. How come? And they say, oh, I'm really sorry I left the light on. Especially if they're paying the bills, you know what I mean? It makes it worse. Or you didn't get a chance to tidy up the kids' bedroom, or oh, this dinner doesn't taste right. What have you put in it this time? Normally you make it quite nice, and you end up saying, oh, do you want me to make you something else? And they make you feel guilty. Control freaks are forever making you feel guilty and making you feel unworthy. Some of them, they'll put you down and say, oh, I'm doing this, or I've just got this degree, or they talk about all their accolades and how great they are and what they're doing and what they've accomplished. And they do it in compared to you, so you can feel less than they are, and you end up feeling as though you're not really worthy, and that you're grateful for them almost. And that's the design. When they're telling you how great they are and what they've accomplished and what they know, and they're always telling you everything they know, and they're always talking with authority, and you end up sitting there in awe of them, and you're thinking, oh my God, they're so brilliant, they're so fantastic. How come they're with me? It's all a part of the control. So you have to be careful about people who put you down in subtle ways. You have people who might criticise you and even say you're ugly or you're fat, and then afterwards they say, oh, I was only joking, how can you take that seriously? You're so sensitive. But in your gut that they're hitting a fragile point in you, and they do that to make you feel unsure about yourself. They do that to make you think, oh my God, I've got to stay here, nobody else is going to want me, and I'm so lucky and fortunate that I've got somebody who cares for me. When they're isolating you from friends and family, they're trying to snip at strip you of all your support networks. So especially when they see you getting close to someone, or they see you, if you have some friends that you go out with, they'll start saying, oh, you know, I think that person's a bad influence. Did you know that person looked on me funny? Are you sure you can trust her? Or are you sure you can trust him? You know, that person that friend you've had for a long time, you sure he doesn't fancy you? And, it can bring all kinds of doubts, so that you end up feeling isolated, and that, you're almost not scared to go out, but you know that there's going to be some kind of ill feeling if you go out with your friends, so you decide that you're going to stay at home. There's also a control takes a point of invasion. They might want to have a look at your phone, or they might want to have a look at what you're doing, or at your computer, under the guise of, if you've got nothing to hide, why don't you want me to see it? And you're like, oh, well, I haven't got anything to hide in your head, but I don't really want you to see it neither. But they make you feel as though you're doing something wrong, as though you're being devious. And in the end, you're like, oh, okay, you can have a look at it. But it's invasion, and it's invasion of your privacy, and you're entitled to your own private space. And then there's this chronic criticism, like I was mentioning before. It starts off small, and then it gets bigger. And, it kind of taps at you, and it makes you... you don't feel validated, and you don't feel accepted, and you don't feel loved. When you've got criticism, that outfit looks a bit tight. If you put on weight, if you eat that, do you think you're going to fit in that dress? Or your hair, you've cut it really short. I prefer when it was long. Or you've dyed it blonde. I prefer it when it was black. Or do you have those shoes, they don't really suit you. Why don't you get a pair of shoes like so-and-so? And that's how they are. Or they'll start comparing, this person has got such a great sense of humour. Would you believe that this person, they've just passed their degree in so-and-so? And, my best friend, they've just... they've just started their own business, and they're doing so well. Would you believe they're married, and they've got children, and yet they've done all this and that, all designed to make you feel less of a person, and as though you're inadequate, and as though you're not enough, and to undervalue you, really. And some of them, they even make threats of leaving, or they're going to cut off your supply, especially if you lose your job. And they're like, oh, I can't afford for you to go and do your nails now. It might be legit, but it's the way they say it to make you feel really uncomfortable, and like you have to go for a job. Or they'll say, oh, I'll do it for you, but, ABC. And it's always conditional. Acceptance is conditional. I love you if you do this, or I love you if you do that. So you've got all of these things going on, and you might not even realise it. But controlling relationships really doesn't feel right. It's not right. And only you know when something feels uncomfortable. Only you know when you feel all high and happy one minute, when you're going to do something that you really want to do, and then all they've got to do is say a couple of words, and then you've lost your motivation to do it. When those kind of things happen, you're being controlled. So I hope you found this video helpful. For all of those of you who might feel as though you're being controlled, and even if you don't know you're being controlled, just by watching this video or clicking onto the title, it shows that you're not quite sure. So let's hope that it's been helpful. Ciao for now.